All right. Thank you so much, Zenzele, for playing that. And I hope you can hear me, right? Loud and clear.
Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect. A very warm welcome. A very warm welcome to everyone who has joined us this afternoon. As Zenzele mentioned, I am one of the partners at Insider and also the growth director for Middle East and Africa. Have been working at Insider for the last 4 years and have expanded, I would say, Insider's operations across 12 countries. And of course, like we are still a growing company and scaling up some of the things that we will be speaking in this session. Of course, the main idea is to, of course, talk about how we can improve customer experience, how we can use technology to predict the behavior of a user, and use the technology to kind of improve certain of our bottom line and other things from our end. So without any further delay, let me actually share my screen and we can kickstart it from there. Zenzele, if you can give me a shout out if you can see the screen.
Yes, I can see the screen is fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So just before we jump into what Insider does and how Insider helps, I would say businesses in the financial sector, giving you a quick overview about Insider, we are a 10-year-old company, have currently operating in close to about 25 different offices across the globe, though we work in more than 45 countries. And across the globe, we have close to about 800 plus team members who are looking at different functions, of course, from development to product to, I would say, the growth side and the customer success part. And in all of these, I would say across the globe, we have close to about 1,000 plus enterprise clients that we are helping with customer experience, retention, activation, and of course, the part where we spoke about revenue and the bottom line that is there. Back in 2018 was one of the key milestones that we had is when Sequoia came into place and invested into Insider. Sequoia, of course, is a well-known VC entity across the globe, have previously invested in companies like Apple and Google probably about 30 years back, Instagram and WhatsApp probably about 10 years back. So it was a proof of stamp of what was Insider building for the marketing ecosystem and the digital side of things. And additionally, we have close to about 40 plus partnerships. Some of the key marquee ones have been Google and Facebook also. Now, in terms of I would say, which are these brands that we are working with. We currently work with some of the household brands that you already know. And it is a very vertical agnostic, I would say, technology that we use or marketing cloud that we use, essentially by first understanding what are the key goals, challenges, and short-term and long-term things that you would want to kind of achieve. And through that, how Insider can probably add value to these goals that you have created, which is why we have been successful across, I would say, a fashion vertical where we are working with Marks and Spencers, Uniqlo, Levi's, but in the same space, like in banking, like have been very successful in, of course, creating partnerships with Santander, ING Banks, BBVA, to name a few. But just to kind of be very niche over here, we have been empowering close to about 100 plus finance brands. And as you can see on the left-hand side, these are some of the key marquee banks that we work with across the globe. ING Bank, Act Bank, Maybank, Emirates NBD in the Middle East. We are currently also working with Sterling Bank. We are also working with, I would say, the First Bank of Nigeria in the African markets also. And it's a similar thing in the insurance space too. So this is what Insider has been doing for the last 10 years. And of course, there are some key accolades that we have got in these last 10 years too. Usually when a software or a technology has to be, say, looked at and evaluated, it's usually a black box. And these are some of the ways that we can actually look at, should we buy a software or not, or should we buy this specific software or not. So if you go to a G2 crowd, you would see Insider has been the leader in that space for the last 19 quarters. And of course, in the same space, like on the left-hand side, which is more like a technical critic evaluation, where you would see Insider as the leader in the cross-channel campaign management also. Some of these things that I would be covering as we go along. Just getting a bit deeper into what are some of the challenges that is being faced by the financial industry. And since I come from a banking background, one of my first job was with Citibank back in 2010. I did have like a lot of ideas into what are the key broken things that a bank can fix or a financial sector can fix to improve some of the key goals and challenges that you would want to do. One of the key things, of course, like every bank or an insurance company or people in the financial sector or businesses in the financial sector look at customer acquisition through the website. And few of the brands that I've spoken to, or I would say quite a bit of brands that I've spoken to, always told us, hey, Ajish, we don't have a problem with the leads that are coming through the website. But the bigger problem lies in the quality of the leads, because our call centers need to call all of these 50 leads and then qualify. And usually it comes to a 5 to 10% conversion rate only, where these people or the end users are actually interested. So one of the first things that we are going to look at is how can we increase the quality of customer acquisition. There's a lot of non-financial players also entering the banking space. And we have been seeing that as a part in quite a bit in Africa specifically, and also in the Middle East too. The third part that is one of the challenges is the cost of acquiring customers. Of course, we spend a lot on, say, a Facebook, we spend a lot on a Google ad, and these people usually come to the website or they download the app, but they never use the app, or it ends up to being like, okay, this user came onto the website, but left and never came back to the website. And we have to again spend more money to acquire new customers to come back to your digital channels again. So these are, of course, like the top three things that we have seen. Internally, when we are working with banks, like what we have seen, or financial businesses, what we have seen is there is a lot of disjointment in customer experience. Just to give you a very personal example, I used to work in a specific part called universal banking, where I could sell every product in the bank, whether it is an account, whether it is a personal loan, whether it is a home loan, or any other products that are there. However, usually and traditionally, most of these businesses or most of these verticals are divided into different teams, and there is a disjoint. So somebody selling a credit card would not be able to sell a personal loan, or somebody selling a personal loan would not be able to sell a home loan, etc. And this part was actually solved by the digital side, which of course bringing a website and getting the lead over and then passing it to the right team. So the customer does not feel that like they could not speak to only one person and get all the details. However, data was still a problem, and getting all the data into one place and then using it was also one of the other problems why customer experience is still broken in the financial sector. The third part, of course, or I would say the fifth part, which is still invisible over here, and I did not mention it specifically, is of course data privacy laws, and specific to certain countries does not allow you to use the customer data or store the customer data outside a certain country. And that becomes a bigger challenge for the financial businesses to apply something from a cloud perspective, because most banks would have the reasoning or saying that like the customer data should be in the country itself. So again, like all of these points are pretty important, and that becomes the core and the crux of the problems that we are currently facing in the financial industry. Though marketeers and teams would like to kind of apply certain methodologies across the bank, but there are some rules and regulations because of which using a technology also becomes a problem. We have solved it through multiple ways while working across all of these regions, and would be happy to share it also. Where are these areas where the technology has been leveraged? Of course, consumer banking, SME banking, digital products where we are getting more quality leads through credit card, mortgages, collateral loans. We are looking at Islamic banking and how we can kind of understand user behavior and provide the best products to them, the wealth management and the private banking also. So each of these parts, of course, has different use cases and, of course, different goals that you would want to kind of achieve. And from an overall perspective, the digital team at a financial business would be looking at how we can improve these goals. Most of the teams would be talking to the digital bank saying that we want to do this, we want to improve the credit card applications that we are coming onto through the website, etc. Or we would want to make sure that the usage of the app keeps increasing over a period of time for each user. Or there can be a very niche use case that 30% or 10% of the users are there whose average quarterly balance is less than what we intend them to have. So how do we increase that from our end? These are very deep use cases, of course, some of the banks that are using from our end. So how does our technology help? Or how does technology help overall? Not just Insider, but there can be multiple other technologies that can help. In terms of the first part, like let's look at it from a, I would say, or let's zoom out a bit. We see an ad for credit cards on Facebook and or Google Ads, and then we click on it and we land onto the website. Now, this is where one of the biggest challenges starts. Most, I would say, financial businesses that I worked with previously, they did not have the technology to understand what is this user doing on the website. Of course, they could still track it on a Google Analytics and other technologies that are there, but they could not take an action on it except again doing a Google ad or a Facebook ad. This is where Insider technology came into place. We tracked all the users who are coming onto the website, understanding which products are they looking at. They might be still anonymous, they haven't given their lead and other parts that are there, but we could still understand if Ajish, as a user who clicked on this Facebook, came onto the website and has looked at the credit card part and has looked at a certain specific credit card that he wanted to kind of apply for, but did not apply for it again. Ajish might have come 3 times after that on the website without actually any ads and looked at that same credit card, but did not apply it. So there is, of course, a certain thing stopping Ajish, or there might be a certain reason that is stopping Ajish from actually applying for that credit card. In traditional platforms, you won't be able to understand this, and this is where Insider is probably the strongest. Understanding these users, even though they are anonymous, understanding which source are they coming from, whether it is a Facebook or a Google AdWord or a direct traffic, and then taking specific actions from our end. So just getting in a bit deeper, what do we mean by the specific action? The first part that Insider does is to kind of and just going back to my last invisible point that I spoke about, like this disjointed data systems that does not help us to kind of have a singular customer experience. The first part that Insider solves is to actually connect the web platform, which is a website that you have created to collect the leads, the mobile app platform which you have built to kind of retain the customers and activate the customers and have a point of contact that will be the best for them. Then of course most banks do have a CRM platform and tons of other data management systems that they would be using to identify this particular customer, and of course any offline data that the bank would like to kind of share in all in anonymous format, so that it is not going through any regulations and it is not breaking any regulations from it. Once the data is passed into Insider, we are looking at how we can segment these users. So just giving you an example, I could segment Ajish into a segment or an audience who have looked at credit cards or say personal loans or home loans 3 times in the last 15 days, but did not take an action, which means like I haven't applied for that credit card or I haven't applied for that home loan. Or it can be as simple as I started my process for opening the bank account digitally, but I did not complete it from my end. So this is what we call as behavioral segments. There can be historical segments also. Things like I have previously applied for a personal loan which got rejected. So you would want to kind of say you already have in the backend system that this person now has a better credit score. So maybe he still needs a personal loan, and we would want to kind of send them a communication asking them to go through or reapply for that personal loan. And then there is a predictive segment, and this is where the AI comes into place. Our system can predict whether the user is actually falling into somebody who has a high likelihood to purchase a personal loan, high likelihood to purchase a home loan, or high likelihood to purchase a credit card. Not going to delve into the details, of course, like for that, like we will have the open sessions to kind of discuss that. And once the audience is built, then this is the main part that would help you, right? So I could immediately personalize Ajish's experience on the website based on what he has done before, which is what we call as web personalization. It is one-to-one personalization. Imagine you are going into a bank and retail bank, physical bank, and you know that the person over there has known you for a while, or it might be your friend. So you will have a very personal experience and they would recommend you the right products, etc. Digitally, it is not possible, right? So this is where Insider would come in as a technology to make that possible digitally. So I know Ajish has visited the bank's website a couple of times or 3 times in the last 7 days. So I'm going to show Ajish what is most recommended to them rather than actually giving a same banner to every user who is coming to the website. And similarly, we will be going through other things like how we can personalize it in-app, how we can build these things through the templates. We call it what we call it as activation and engagement. The second part of it, of course, is to look at how we can retain these customers once they have, say, signed up or downloaded the app. And for that, there can be multiple ways to do it. We can use it through all the traditional channels, which are not expensive, which are much more cheaper than a Facebook AdWord and a Google AdWord, and of course, like have better retention rates too. So you can look at like it from app push, a web push, or email, or SMS, and the of course the most or the new kid in the channel part or the messaging part is what we call as the WhatsApp Business API, which would help you kind of be in touch with the customers like quite closely. And to cover all of these things, like we have something called an architect or a user journey. What does an architect and user journey do? Making sure that like the user has a single unified customer experience. A customer might be subscribed to your app and also subscribe to your email and also subscribe to your SMS. The user journey will help you kind of understand which is the best channel to actually reach out to this customer. Instead of actually sending them 3 communication across 3 different channels, we use the most prominent channel for that customer for these parts. So this is the gist about how Insider works, essentially in 3 different layers. Data ingestion, which means like we need to collect the data about the users and understand the behavior. Audiencing them, which means like we segment those users into a certain bucket and specifically targeting them with these micro campaigns, which would help us achieve some of the challenges that we already spoke. How do we do a unified customer experience? How do we increase the quality of the leads? How do you better understand your consumers? How do you place yourselves better with competition and give the best experience to the users that are coming onto the website? And by the way, like just giving you a stat, a website bounce rate for in the financial sector is close to about 60%. And this is like that, all these 100 partners that we have been looking at or started working with, like this was at the beginning, like if you're looking at 10 users coming to your website, 6 of them do not apply for anything and never come back to the website also. So you have a very short, and especially in the financial sector, you have a very short window to actually convert those users into actual customers or make them apply that lead that is there. So that is another challenge that comes up. So in terms of what Insider would be doing is we are looking at how we can optimize the cost, how we can increase the quality of the lead generation, how we can increase the engagement of the users on the web and the app, how we can reduce any form abandonment that has happened, how we can cross-sell, upsell to increase the customer lifetime value of the users. Most of the banks, of course, like focus on increasing lead generation. On financial businesses actually focus on increasing lead generation, reducing form abandonment, and of course look at cross-selling and upselling as the main value drive from their end. And these are some of the things, key 3 main things that we are trying to solve from our end. So how do we do it? Like just giving you a quick example. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of, I would say, use cases, but let's look at it from a very objective point of view and go back to how we have been doing it. So just like a website for a bank, like you would come onto a bank and you would see a great banner over there, which is not at all personalized to you. There might be 100,000 users who are coming to your website every month, or it can be 500, or it can be 1 million users who are coming to your website every month. And all of them, and without fail, this has been happening across the industry, all of them will see the same banner across. Now, I might not even have, of course, like even if the bank gives me a Bentley, I might not have the, say, means to actually take that Bentley around or service that Bentley around. So it does not make sense for me. It is completely something that I would not be interested in. So I might be interested in more something that is more relevant to me. And this is where Insider would come in. So instead of giving everyone a same static navigation menu or a same current promotional banner or the same top products that you have, we understand the user and then personalize it to specific parts that are there. So instead of showing the Bentley, I would actually show Ajish the credit card that he was looking for. Or probably he just did not visit any credit card, but he has visited the category section, which is the credit card. Maybe it is priority banking that he's looking for. Maybe he's trying to open a bank account. So you can actually make audiences of these different users and make sure that you're giving a personalized experience to them. You can highlight the card section over here. You can replace the main banner with the credit card part. And of course, you can replace the top products with something more relevant, or maybe the top 5 credit cards that you would want to kind of show these users. Now, what is the impact of all of these things that we are doing? The impact is to actually, people love personalization. And at the end of the day, it actually helps you kind of reduce these bounce rates that you have, which is close to 60%. How do we reduce this? We reduce this by doing these micro campaigns. And we reduce this by actually understanding our users, segmenting them into different buckets and showing them the most relevant content over end. So this is one of the use cases that we do. So you can, of course, have, it's not just for one person, but you can actually create it for, say, 10 different segments or 100 different segments and show them specific things that they have done on the website immediately from there. This is, of course, the first example. The second example is, of course, like you would have already seen or interacted with stories on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Netflix, and every business has been trying to replicate what Instagram has done. Of course, the pioneers have been Snapchat on this, but like Instagram made it like a commodity for us. So every brand has been trying to leverage this Instagram stories on their own businesses. So as you can see over here, Guarantee BBVA, which is one of our partners, used InStory to actually decrease bounce rate and also decrease the cost of acquisition also. So which means like I'm going to show very personalized stories over here, which is more relevant to the consumer instead of course, like the banner, which does not give us the impact that a desktop banner would do, or a desktop hero image would do, because we are using small phones. It's not a 13-inch laptop or 15-inch laptop. It's a very small phone, 5.5 inches, 6 inches max. 6.5 is what we have seen in the market is the max. And in that small screen, the banners do not look that great. So this is where the stories come in, gives you a better engagement, gives you the right value to the product, helps you kind of segment the users into different buckets, and of course, like give the right communication to them also. Moving ahead is what we call as, let me actually, the case study that we had. So with the in stories, like we could achieve a 4x higher conversion for BBBA through different campaigns and different micro segments and different micro campaigns that we built for each of these segments, because we don't want to target everyone and anyone who comes to the website. If people are not giving us, say, certain signals and certain behaviors, we don't want to target them because those users are not going to convert. So the first part is to look at the intent of the users, and based on those intent, create these segments, and based on that segments, create these stories from our end. And as you can see over here, Sezin from BBVA actually mentioned with 6 different stories, we have reached 4 times higher credit card applications. And that is a fantastic part. And these are credit card applications which have high intent, because we know Ajish or Zenzele actually looked at that credit card category for 3 or 4 times in the last 7 weeks. So that shows intent from our end. Now, similarly, there are other things that we can do from our end. The other part is once the user has, say, applied to the credit card or a certain product, we would want them to actually download the app, because that's where most of the retention is happening in the financial sector or the financial businesses, because people would need everything on their fingertips. And what better technology to do it than app? And one of the other things that we are trying to do is to acquire customers into the app space organically and improve the app download rate. And these are, of course, users who are coming onto your website, and this is a chance to kind of make sure that they are connected with the app. How you show it and when you show it is the main challenge, because if you show this to a new visitor, he or she might not be interested. But if this user has come before, applied for a certain product, and then you show it, it makes much more difference, and that also helps you kind of increase the, I would say, retention and the download rate also. Just giving an example, if I applied for the credit card in the previous section, immediately once the thank you page comes, I will also ask the user to apply or download the application for them to easily track the credit card application across. So you could actually send them push notifications instead of sending out an SMS or again retargeting them, keeping the unified customer experience in mind again. Then, of course, like we are looking also at the I would say the customer experience from an engagement perspective. Now, whenever a user comes on, or whenever we open up a mobile website or a mobile app, we are usually using 2 thumbs from our end. These 2 thumbs are the ones that are helping us scroll up and down, move up and down, go to the next page. And that's the usual behavior. And most businesses or most websites that you would see would have what we call as the hamburger menu on the top left hand side, which the thumb is, it's quite unreachable for people who are using it with 2 thumbs, which is why we wanted to kind of give them again personalized hamburger menus, which we can actually then drive into the products that they have looked at. Maybe a user has looked at 3 different categories of products, and we want to push them to that space. Or this is a new user who is coming from a Facebook ad for a credit card application. So we will give them 3 options instead of just giving 1 option. So these way you can actually personalize the experience of these users. And of course, like you can have different animations and other ways to kind of grab their attention on the website itself. Again, the idea is to, again, reduce any customer acquisition cost, making sure that you don't have to retarget them again on Facebook AdWords or Google AdWords, making sure you're using your data to kind of improve these matrices from that end. One of the other things that we have been doing, I started a form, but I did not complete it. I am not available on any of the traditional channels like a web push, or email, or SMS. So it's very hard to kind of catch hold of them once they leave the website. But a lot of users still remembers that like they haven't completed the application and they would want to kind of complete the application. And it's a staggering 25, 26% of the people who actually come back to fill their forms. The only thing that we need to do over here is to make sure that like we remind them that there is a form that needs to be completed. And this can be for the anonymous set of users. So this is a perform abandoner. I looked at the personal life insurance. I spent 10 seconds and I left. I came back. Or before I leave also, I can remind them that their uh, form hasn't been completed and making sure that like we complete the form from our end. So all of these things are looking forward to multiple ways. Like we are looking at reducing the customer acquisition cost. We are looking at reducing the form abandonment. We are looking at improving the bottom line. We are looking at increasing the quality of the forms that are being applied to also. And of course, our good old lead collections, right? Making it smarter and smarter day by day. Because if I know the intent of the user, I should stop him before he or she, before they leave the website. Show them like, we want to talk to you, or please give us your number. Let us call you back in, say, 1 hour to kind of discuss the possibilities. So making sure that like we are getting all the details before the user leaves the website so that we can reach them over email or SMS, whichever has lesser friction for the people to kind of buy. And we have built such templates which makes the user's life, or I would say the marketing team's life, or the digital marketing team's life, and even we are going to save tons and tons of times on the development side, because usually marketing teams are very closely connected with the development team, and any requirement that they have needs to go to the development team also. So we're reducing we are saving a lot of time for the development team. We are giving the agility to the marketing team to experiment every campaign that they wanted to have and provide a better experience to the user through the segmentation engine that we have built and the data ingestion layer that we have built. So these are, of course, some of the examples that we have been doing for multiple businesses or multiple banks across the globe that is there. Then, of course, like through the app also, we have built multiple ways to kind of engage with the app users. Whether they have opened the app, we can actually show them certain specific offers to their interest. It can be even KYC submissions that you would want to want them to do. It can be a reminder for the KYC submission that you want them to do, or of course just a regular offer that you would want to kind of give. And of course, the other part is like how can we boost, say, App Store rating, because it is so important for App Store optimization. So making sure that like we litigate the risk or mitigate the risk, not litigate, mitigate the risk of the part also. Essentially, I think like you have a question or
Thank you so much, Ajish. I think you have taken a lot of my time there.
yeah,
Um,
perfect.
yeah, so um, I'm not sure if you were done there. I think
Yeah, it's almost done. But if
okay,
you're short on
okay.
time, of course, like we can take it over a different discussion also.
Absolutely. I think because there's going to be a Q&A at the end, the panel
Yes,
discussion.
absolutely. We can take it over there
Yeah.
too.
So if you have any questions, please you can reserve them for the panel discussion, and you can always ask Ajish. Thank you so much, Ajish.
Thanks,
We're going
Anthony.
to take a very short break now, and we will see you in 1 minute. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ajish. Thank you.